There's a lot of methodologies out there. I have a problem with methodologies fundamentally because they're not emphasizing the human to human component, just having a conversation. You could follow some banter, some spin or gap or challenger. They're all great. They all have a purpose. But really, the key to being great in sales is to be really great at having conversations and actually listening and understanding and connecting with people, like being a good person, actually trying to help and not being attached to outcomes. And when you're going through a methodology, like that's not the way people talk to each other. A conversation flows, right? You can't just go down a checklist. And so I have developed a new framework, which I copyrighted and will be doing a course or something with it because I think it's very powerful, which is used to predict whether or not a deal is going to close and also help qualify early whether it's a real deal or not. And in the methodology, it's super easy to remember. It's called PREDICT. It's just that. It's called PREDICT. And it's an acronym not for following a methodology, but rather for assessing whether a deal is qualified and is likely to close, especially at that larger deal level. So I'll walk you through what PREDICT is. You're hearing this for the first time. I've shared it a couple times in private workshops with my clients. And like I said, it's copyright protected. So I'm not worried about anyone stealing it yet, but it is something I'm very proud of. And it's really simple. The P stands for, actually, let's play a little guessing game, Nick, because I've made people guess on this. But what do you think the P stands for?
Performance?
Think about like methodologies, traditional methodologies like SPAN or MEDPIC or any of the, what do you think the P stands for?
Who put me on the problem?
Problem. You got it. Problem. So you ultimately, it stands for problem with pain. Problem with pain. Okay, because the problem's not a problem until there's pain associated with it, and they tell you why it's a problem. So problem with pain. It's like, why is this really a problem? What's it costing your organization? How's it hurting you? Why do you need to solve it? Why now? Like really digging in and understanding like, what problem are you trying to solve? That's the P. Okay. The R is the personal motivation, the reason. Why do you want to change? You can take this at the organization level. Why does your company need to change what they're doing? The why, but also why you? Why is this important to you personally? Is this going to help you get promoted? Is this going to help you with your career? Is this going to help you hit your bonus? Like, is this going to help you raise money for, your Series C? So really understanding like why. If you get to their why, like in the challenger customer, that's very powerful. That's missing from all of the methodologies. The E is another one that's missing from every methodology, and I'll let you guess that one. So the R is reason, the P is problem, the R is reason.
What's the evidence?
Evidence is great, but that's more along the lines of the I. The E is no one gets them, so don't worry if you don't get them. Let me give you a hint. Think about, how do you know if a deal or a person's like really interested? How do you know if they're like really serious? What is a good indicator that they're super serious about it?
I can't think of what the E would be, but I know that they start talking as us as a team and they start doing the we talk.
Okay. So I call that engagement.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Engagement. The customer is engaged with you. They're participating. They're sharing. They're communicating. They're getting back to you quickly. They're texting you. There's a mutual action plan, but it's also multi-threaded engagement. We're not just single-threaded. And it's also engagement with the D, which you're going to get the D, right? What's the D? Decision maker, right? Decision. Yeah. So engagement could be a number of things, but ultimately, how engaged are they? We know they're serious when they're going back and forth. In fact, every outreach or sales loft tool out there is trying to measure likelihood of a deal closing, and it's all based on the frequency of communication. That's why the E is so powerful. The D is decision maker and decision process, and that's pretty common in every methodology. It's, do you know how they make the decisions? Do you know what happens from start to finish? Are you dealing and working directly with the decision maker? If you are not working with the decision maker, your odds of closing a deal decreased by 233% in the enterprise, according to Gong Labs, if you are not engaged with the decision maker, period. It's almost impossible to get an enterprise deal done if you're not dealing with power. At the SMB level, it's about 80%. Okay, if you're not talking to someone who can't say yes, then you're leaving everything up to chance, and hopefully they know how to sell, but most of the time they don't. So that's what the D is. It's, do we know their process, and we engage in the decision maker, okay? The I is impact. So that's the what you said, evidence. So impact is, what will solving the problem do for their organization? What impact will it have on their organization? We're talking about the impact to the person. There's 4 levels of impact. The first level is to the individual. How is it going to help the buyer, the person you're talking to? The second level is the users. How is this going to make the lives of your salespeople better, of your customer service agents, of your marketing people, whoever the users of the software, your IT people? How is this going to improve their life so they don't have to do mundane, tedious tasks or do manual processes? That's what the second level of I is the impact to the users. The third level is the impact to the company. What is the business case? What type of cost reduction will this bring? Will this bring better revenue? Will it bring customer retention? Is it going to help with their employee turnover? So what are the key metrics that matter to the organization, and how is this going to impact the company? And the final I is the customer. What will this do for the customer experience? If you're selling the software for anyone that interfaces with the customer, or maybe it's on the website where the customer experience is directly impacted, maybe it's for their support group, how is this going to make it easier to be a customer, more frictionless, right? So those are the 4 levels of impact. And I literally will ask that, and do we have a good business case to back that up? So I like your evidence. It's really powerful. The C, let's get to the C. What's your guess there?
Contract?
The guessing game.
I was thinking contract because now you're closing everything up and you're moving over to implementation.
It's close. It's really good, actually, but it's not right. C is cost, okay? You've got a few of them. You're doing pretty good, actually. C is cost. Okay, now there's a few components to cost. There's 3 components to cost. The first is the actual physical cost of what they're paying today. We need to know what they're paying today, what they're paying their people that are doing all these manual tasks that you're going to automate. We need to know what they're paying for any software that is going to be obsolete, consolidated, retired. We need to know their infrastructure costs. We need to know their outsourcing costs. So any costs that will go away or be reduced by the software that you're selling, we want to quantify that. Because then if we're asking $1 million a year, but we can quantify that they're already paying $700,000 through software that they're retiring, they don't need anymore, they're consolidating, we're only asking for $300,000.
Yeah.
And that's the key. You don't sell the actual cost of your software. You sell the gap between what they're paying today and what you're asking them. And it makes it way easier because that's how they position it, right? So get their current cost. That's the first thing. Get their opportunity cost. Opportunity cost is what are the things that you want to do that you can't do because of the current situation? How is this preventing you from growing? How is this preventing you from scaling your business? What are the projects you can't get to that are strategic because your IT team is completely bogged down and resource constrained, right? So opportunity cost is the second C. And the third C is what you said. It's your proposal cost. Do they have our numbers? Right? Do they know what it costs? Are they budgeting? Do they actually have the funding? And nothing happens unless we actually show them the pricing and ask them to buy. So do they know what our costs are? So that's the C. And then the last one is T. What's your guess, Nick?
I'm thinking timeline. I'm hoping we're getting into timeline and
We're
both
getting
on.
into timeline.
Yeah.
That's the T. That's the T. Why now? Okay. What is there a compelling event that we're trying to drive towards? Is there something happening in their organization? Are they trying to do this by a certain year? Do they have certain goals this year? Is there a big project or initiative that's coming from the top down? And then what's your desired go live date? So you can work backwards and figure out, okay, based on that, we got to get this in place here. So we need contracts signed by actually in 2 weeks if you want to hit this timeline. So if you hit everything in Predict, the way we use this is we take all of our deals, we get a spreadsheet where you can put it in Salesforce if you want to steal it and just give me credit. Literally, and you go through all your deals and you say, is this deal really qualified? Do we know the problem with pain? Okay. Are we clear on their reason? Do we know their why at the company and the personal level? How engaged are they with us? Are we dealing with power? Do we know their decision process? Are we engaged with the decision maker? Have we done a business case? Do we know the financial impact and the material impact that this is going to have? Have we quantified their current costs so we can help justify the investment? And have we established timeline and compelling event and a reason to do it now so we can drive some urgency? And if you can say yes to those things, I can guarantee you got a deal. But most times you go through it, there's going to be some holes, there's going to be some gaps, and then you know where you can go back and actually identify next steps. So that's something I'm super proud of. I can't even tell you how long and hard it was to get the word scrambled to figure all that out, but that captures everything of all the methodologies out there. And then a couple things that aren't in any of them, which are really important, engagement and reason specifically.